was a one app in high school. I remember it was like House Party or something like that. You would have like
Yep.
chats like that,
Yep.
but I'd never heard of Zoom either
Yeah.
until COVID
House
hit.
Party was funny. House Party was kind of a mess because I don't know if it was only on like iPhone apps or what, but that's the only place I ever used it. So it was just like 8 people on the tiny iPhone screen through the
Yeah,
one speaker. Just a
yeah.
total mess.
All right, so we're live on YouTube here. I got my good buddy Noah Dodd. We're just talking about Zoom and other sort of video chats. This is what we're using as StreamYard here. We're testing it out. We tried to go live. We tried to multitask and look at YouTube videos too while we're doing it, but it's not very good. But credit to StreamYard for connecting us too. I haven't seen you since the wedding, and I believe we took a shot of Jim Beam, right?
That's right. We did. That's our signature shot, if I do recall.
It is. And I remember you told me a story about like why you told me a story about it, but I don't really remember. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're
Let's
talking
hear it.
about.
Let's
It's
hear it.
kind of yeah. I've never like been super into shots or anything like that. More of just like drinking beer at the bar type of guy. But I remember one time I was out with a couple of my buddies and like I felt like buying everybody a shot and I got up to the bar and hadn't had anything prepared, so I kind of panicked. And the first thing I saw was a bottle of Jim Beam. So I got everybody a shot of Jim Beam and it was absolutely terrible, as you might expect it would be.
How was the reception from the rest of the group? Did they like it?
No, and everybody was really disappointed in the selection, but it's kind of
Really?
lived on since then. So
When
just
was
rolling
that?
with it.
Roughly. What year was that?
Man, that's a good question. Probably like 2018, 2019.
Okay. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think Will took one with us too.
Yep,
I
Will
enjoyed
was there, I think. Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's like if you're gonna buy a shot, it's a good way to get your money's worth, right?
for sure. Like if I'm getting a shot, I want something that kind of like smacks me in the face. And
Right.
that's exactly what that does.
And
And
I
it
think
doesn't
that's
taste
yeah.
like too much. Like, sometimes like when we had the infamous Rumpleman shot with JJ once, but like shots like that, it
Yeah,
just like
that's
sits in
right.
your, I don't know, it's just like too minty, like sits in your throat. Like whiskey,
Hmm.
like yeah, it's not great, but I don't know, there's something about it. I kind of like it. I wouldn't want a bunch of them, but like one or two, I think that's a go-to. I think you're onto something with that.
Yeah, and I recall you saying like, "Whoa, like I feel alive after that. I feel awake." It was like taking
You know what
like
I said?
doing like smelling salts or something before you're about to like squat. That's what it felt like for me.
Yeah,
That's
kind
for sure.
of. It is. It does give you like a second like jolt. Tequila kind of does that too,
Hmm.
but in a different way. I still think I like the whiskey shot better. Whether it's Jim Beam or Jack, whatever. Jack probably goes down pretty well too, but
Yeah, maybe we'll have to try that next time.
we'll go switch to Jack. Um, what other shots you like?
You mentioned tequila. That's a Will Haskins special.
Is it?
Yeah, that's his Jim Beam. If Jim Beam's my thing, his is tequila. And I think
That's
that
right.
started, if I remember right, it was when we were in PCB that first time around, and he for some reason was just on a kick and was like making everybody take tequila shots.
Really? Like
Yeah,
forcefully?
I think some people, yeah.
This was at the bar?
This was at like the Airbnb we rented, if
Oh, at the
I
at the
remember
place.
correctly.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember that. Like he kind of got a little reputation for that. He was like
Hmm.
running out. He was like running around like filling everybody's glass of that.
Yep, that's just classic Bill though.
That's his classic.
That's pretty in character for him.
I'm not a big shot guy though at the bar either. It's usually just beer for me, but like
Hmm.
Budweiser is always good. I know you like Michelob Ultra though, right? What's your
Yeah,
ranking of beers?
yeah, Michelob, it's tough to beat. Are we talking just like like light beer, like
Let's
domestic
go
beers?
domestics, yeah, like
Yeah,
that.
domestics. Michelob is probably number one for sure. Um,
Really?
yeah, most of college I like Bud Light a lot. I'd probably put that at number two, and Bush Light is, it's just kind of a staple.
Yeah.
Being from this region of the country, and I always appreciate. I don't drink it very often, Bush Light that is, but I always appreciate one every once in a while. I think the occasional Bush Light tastes pretty good when you start like kind of binge drinking them, I don't think they're as good. But I'd say those are my top three. How
Top
about
three.
you? Yeah.
None of those three would be in there, but that's okay. I like Bud Light a lot. I think the first time I ever came over to like 211, it was like one of the first few times. It was like a Twins playoff game, and Will like told me to come over, and I had a case of Bud Light that time. It was the first time I ever stepped foot in
Right on.
Grossman 211. I think I was drinking Bud Light, but that's usually not like one of my staples. It used to be Miller Lite like all the way when I
Yep.
first started like drinking. It was
Yeah.
Miller Lite,
I
and
remember
then
that.
and then like a year ago, no, probably 2 years ago now, they Budweiser came out with the Chicago Cubs cans, and the cans were like so sick.
Mhm.
I'm like, I gotta get these. I never really had drank Budweiser before. I'm like, I'm gonna try this out. These cans are cool. And like it was awesome. But it was like it's like every time I started drinking Budweiser, like good stuff was happening. So I switched to that. Now it's kind of like back and forth. So I would say Miller Lite, Budweiser, 1 and 2, and they can like interchange.
Mhm.
And then number 3, probably Coors Light.
Yeah,
Unique set.
that's solid.
But I like what he said about Busch Light. Busch Light is definitely it's just a staple. And in the
Mhm.
right amount, it's pretty good. Like you
Yeah.
have 1 or 2, like you said, you have 1 or 2 every once in a while. It tastes pretty good. Like I
Yeah,
understand
it's
it.
refreshing.
It is definitely refreshing. But then there's sometimes I drink it. If I've had it too much, I'm like, this is starting to taste like dirty pond water. It was kind of scummy.
Yeah, I feel that. I think though, you mentioned Miller, and yeah, that's a good one too. But I think I would actually amend my third. I'd take Busch Light out, and I would put in Miller High Life.
Yes. No, I think that's right. Miller
That's
High Life is
solid.
good.
Yeah, and it's just like you can't beat the price. I mean, come on.
That's right. That's true. Like Coors Banquet and Miller High Life are two
Yeah,
like
Coors Banquet.
great alternates, cheaper, and I think they taste better anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I would take both of those over like almost any other light beer.
That's true. That's okay. I think yeah, I would have to reassess that third spot. Coors Light is definitely out.
And I
I
think
still like Coors Light
yeah,
though.
yeah,
But
Coors Light's good.
I would probably put Miller High Life in at 3.
Yeah, that's a good one. Miller High Life, and it's like the opposite of Busch, where it gets better the more you drink it.
Which one?
Miller High
Miller
Life.
High Life? Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It does. The more you drink it, yeah, it does taste better. And that's what beer should taste like. Beer should like you said, like you drink too many Busch Lights, you're kind of like, oh, this is just gross. And that's not a good. That
Mhm.
means it's not a good beer.
Right.
If you're gonna drink like 6 or 7 beers in a row, then it's got to be good.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And now I think about like the stuff you used to drink, like way back in the day. I couldn't drink some of these beers. Like I used to drink like Natty Ice.
Oh, I
could never do
know.
that anymore.
You were an absolute demon with those things. It'd be like Monday night watching the football game, and you'd be cracking open Natty Ices. Just casually.
Right. That was just like normal back then. I
Yeah.
would be well, obviously 21. I'd be like age 21. Like that's just normal back then, and I would never do that now.
No,
Let alone
no,
like
no.
any beer, really. I mean, like a Tuesday night, I don't ever think about drinking beer.
Yeah. I hear
Let alone
ya.
a Natty
Yeah.
Ice.
Times have changed. I know that's always stuck with me, like the Natty Ice of all things, to just like enjoy while watching a game of football.
Yeah. I will say I've changed my mind on one though. One beer has really changed like the last couple months, and that's Natty Light. I used to hate
Yeah.
Natty Light. I thought it tasted terrible, but they have like the new can now, and it's like a throwback looking can. And I don't know if they changed the taste of the beer or what it is, but I like it now. Probably just because of the can. I think the can makes it taste better. It used to be like cheap looking. I'm like, this is just gross. Evan Haskins would be drinking it. Will drink it a lot too.
Will was a big Natty Light guy.
Just 2 guys you really don't want to have like share drink selection in common with.
Yeah, no.
But I've drank it recently and I started to like it. I think it's a can.
Could be. I'll have to check it out. I literally haven't had a Natty Ice since probably like 2017.
This is Natty Light. Natty Light.
Or Natty Light. Excuse me.
Natty Ice is still gross.
Natty Light. Yeah, Natty Light was really big. Like right, like 2017 when I would have been like a sophomore and you were a freshman. I remember a lot of people drank Natty Light then, at least at Wartburg.
Tons of people did. It was like it was almost as it was probably a second most popular. Obviously, Busch Light was always number 1, but like, you can make a case for that as like number 2.
It was
very common.
It was definitely it was pushing Busch Light too. Like everybody,
probably
it seemed like was drinking Natty Light.
And like that's like if if you drink Busch Light and you get kind of tired of it, you would go to Natty Light. So like they had like
Yeah.
kind of similar like customers, I feel like.
Definitely.
I'm trying to think though. Is Natty Light, is that Miller Coors or is that Anheuser-Busch?
That I don't know.
I don't know.
I can look it up.
Natty Light, Natty Ice. That's Anheuser-Busch, right?
That's what I would guess. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, Google it. But I think Keystone would be it is, am I right?
Yeah. No, it is.
Yeah.
It is Anheuser-Busch. Yeah.
Nice.
Keystone. That's
Because
one I forgot about too.
Keystone would be like the Miller Coors version of Natty Light, and I think that's far superior. I would put Keystone up there with some of the. I would put up there with Coors Light, maybe.
Keystone's not bad. Yeah.
Keystone's always smooth. Keystone, the commercials back in the day.
Smooth
Right.
like
Not many people remember
that's
that.
Right.
That's a
J-Lights
good one.
always would talk about that when we'd have Keystone rolling. Be like smooth like Keystone.
Right.
So that's all.
And that makes you want to drink it. When you get like a cool commercial like that, like I don't ever see like a Natty Light commercial or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kudos to Keystone Light marketing team that we are still talking about Keith Stone here.
Right. But I don't even think that's a current. I wonder if that's even a current ad though. I feel like that was just like an old thing. Like I don't think I've ever seen Keystone Light ad anymore.
It lasted for however long, you know. It passed the test of time.
But like I feel like now you don't even have to market Keystone Light. Like you just if you're gonna drink it or you're not. Back then, and it's probably kind of like a new thing. They kind of like tried to promote it.
Right. Now the demographic is like firmly established. It's like this is our group of customers. There's not a whole lot of fluctuation.
No. So what did you think about Justin Fields yesterday? Are the Bears gonna win the NFC North?
You know, it's wide open. I think it's wide open, and you know, not a whole lot out of Fields, but like the stats look good. 3 for 3 for like 129, 2 tutties. And I think what's encouraging about it is that, you know, it didn't have to be Fields making every play. So that's encouraging. I'd say things are looking up for the Bears. I'm not ready to, you know, jump on the Super Bowl bandwagon yet, but I think
Super Bowl. What about playoff? Would you jump on the playoff bandwagon?
I think a like reasonable hope is to be playing meaningful games in December, like be wild card in the hunt, or possibly like in the in contention for the division, because it could be, you know, a year where a 10 wins does it in the NFC North,
and maybe even less.
Yeah, we shall see.
What do you think if you had to pick? You had to pick the standings like in order.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going? What are you going? Obviously, we still got a couple more preseason games, but just like first impressions.
Yeah, that's a good question, because it honestly, like as I'm thinking about it now, I could see any, you know, it's really like any team could win or any team could finish last. I think like the Lions and the Vikings won't finish last. That's like for sure.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I think the order is really up in the air. If I were to put money on it, you know, I'd probably say the Lions will win. But yeah, like I said, it's razor thin. The Vikings D is still not good. I think Brian Flores might help, but you know, their point differential will even out. I think it's not going to be, you know, another. What did they win last year? 13 games.
I think they won 13 and 4. That sounds right.
I just don't see that happening for the Vikings. But and you know, I think a lot of it depends on for the Bears, you know, the trenches. I think, you know, the secondary defense wise, the secondary looks good. The linebacking core is revamped. That should be solid. But the pass rush last year was just non-existent. They weren't very good against the run. You know, there were some moves made, but that's still definitely the weakest position group. And then on offense, you know, the receiving core looks good on paper. DJ Moore, that's going to help a lot, obviously. Having Darnell Mooney in there healthy, to be a number 2 instead of a number 1 will help, his game a lot. Claypool, he's done it in the league before. He's had good years. His first 2 years in Pittsburgh were good. He had like 8 touchdowns as a rookie, almost like 900 yards. That's a pretty good number 3 guy. So it should be better for Fields, but like I said, the trenches, the offensive line, there's a few question marks there. So we'll see. I mean, they could be a team that could surprise, but they could also be, kind of a middle of the pack team. So my final standings would probably be Lions, Vikes, Bears, Packers.
Okay, there we go. That's the answer I was hoping for. I didn't want you to put yourself last. I want you to put yourself at least
no
above.
way. Yeah.
You think the Packers will stink?
No, I don't. Like watching they didn't look bad the other day. I mean, the offense looked really good. Even with Sean Clifford in there for the Packers, that is.
That's where he played really good.
Yeah.
Like he played he might have been the best. He's a rookie, right? He's rookie this year.
Mm-hmm.
He might have played the best. He might have had the best week 1 preseason game of any rookie.
He might have. There was another. There was
the Browns
Aiden
guy.
O'Connell. Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell too, yes.
That's true. Both of them played well. So all the late rounders.
That's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the Colts pick look very good, but that could be like the draft. Like you look down the road, like you could see like guys like that being better than like really the guys at the top
today. Yeah. The Tom Brady year.
Right.
I guess it was probably just about only Tom Brady that year, but
I don't know. I don't really remember that draft class very well, but
it was like Tom Brady, Spurgeon Wynn, Chad Pennington.
Oh, really? You know, it's on the top of your head.
I know a few of them. Chad Pennington. I think he was the first quarterback, and it was a late first round guy.
Yeah, to the Jets.
Yep.
Dolphins? He played for both, right? Jets and Dolphins?
Yeah, Jets first, then Dolphins.
He was a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, though. Do you think Jordan Love will be good?
I don't know. I hope not.
I don't know. I haven't made my mind up on him yet. Like when he first got drafted, I had no faith in him. But now I think he could be sneaky good.
He looks confident, which is encouraging for Packers fans to see. We'll see, though. I mean, I don't, who knows? Like you said, the jury's still out. We'll just have to wait and see. I've never thought he, in the, like, times I've seen him actually play in an NFL game, I've never thought, like, oh, this dude's absolutely a bust. He's always showed, like, some encouraging things.
How many years has he been the backup? This is his third year?
Yeah, I think it's 4th. This will be his 4th. Yeah.
I kind of like that route with young quarterbacks is let him sit for a little bit. But I think he's, like you said, he looks confident. So like, even though he has never started before, I think he'll come out like he's ready to go. He's like, even if you're a backup, you've been through the ringer, you know what to do.
Right.
And sometimes you like trot these guys out and like, it's like, well, I want to give them experience right away. They're going to work through their mistakes, but sometimes I can kind of screw a quarterback up maybe.
Definitely. I'm thinking of, now that you mentioned that, like Zach Wilson. Yeah. It could be, really good for his career having Aaron Rodgers come and kind of doing what Jordan Love did.
Yeah.
Because he looked good. I think they played today. He looked good today. And
Zach
he looked
Wilson did or Rodgers?
Yeah. Zach Wilson.
Oh, that's good. I haven't seen any of they're on Hard Knocks, right? I haven't seen any of that. I should probably check that out. That will be interesting. The Jets will be an interesting team too. I can see them like being really good and I can see them like stinking.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I don't know. I think Rodgers will play good. I think he'll play loose. I think he'll just let it rip. And the defense, I'm a believer in the Jets. I think the D is going to be solid again. And Aaron Rodgers isn't going to do any worse than Zach Wilson. And they were a borderline playoff team all of last year. So
that's true. What's their head coach's name too? The weird guy?
Robert Saleh. Is that right?
Robert Saleh.
I might be mispronouncing the last name.
No, Robert Saleh. I like Robert Saleh. I was thinking of the Eagles guy. The Eagles guy is weird. No,
Sirianni.
Robert
Yeah.
Sirianni, yeah. But Robert Saleh is a good coach. I think they'll be good too. And I used to hate Aaron Rodgers. Like back in the
Yeah.
discount double check days, I couldn't stand him. But as years I think he's aged well with I think he's as time has gone on, he's his stock has gotten better, in my opinion. Tom Brady was kind of like that too. As they got older, I my views got a little bit more highly on them. I don't know. I think
Mhm.
he's aged well, but I
Yeah.
used to hate him. So I wish him well in New York.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I feel the same way. Being a Bears fan, I never had the, you know, most favorable
Yeah.
um, view of him, but I do like just as a person, genuinely, like I appreciate him, and I think he's really intriguing to me, like the
Yeah, that's
way
what I mean.
he like just like lives as an NFL quarterback and like interacts with people and like just the agency that he takes is really cool and interesting and and like his outspokenness I think is really cool too. Not that I am in total agreement with him about anything really or some things or whatever, but I think uh, it's just cool how he conducts himself, and I find him to be a fascinating person, and as a lover of football and the quarterback position, I mean, it doesn't get much better than Aaron Rodgers, really. So he's a
Right, I
fun
agree.
one to watch.
Even you said, even if you don't have the same opinions as him, you gotta you respect a guy like that who just that's him. Like it or not,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting the real deal. Like he's not putting on a shtick or anything like that. Like that's genuinely him. And there's times where I'm it does piss you off. Like, "Ah, I hate this guy." But
Yeah.
so there's sometimes I'm I like you said, last couple of years, I think he's just gotten cooler. He's I don't know, wiser. He used to be
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a know-it-all, I felt like. Now I feel like he's kind of mellowed out a little bit. Tom Brady was the
Yeah.
same way too. Tom Brady was always kind of aggressive and macho. I'm like, I don't like this guy. And then he kind of mellowed out when he went to Tampa Bay. And I didn't mind him by the end of his career.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's cool to see like with these quarterbacks who are playing such a long time, it's like they have these different phases in their careers where it's
Mhm.
like as you kind of did just like pointed to these different points and you can you watch them grow, not only as athletes but as people. It's pretty cool.
That's probably the most unique position in any sport, wouldn't you say?
It's got to be up there, especially
I
with the
don't.
longevity of it now and the spotlight, and it's a position that has so much attention paid to it, and it's just like these guys are constantly like responsible for so much of the team's success, and yeah, and so much of the team's salary cap is often going to these players, and they're just like they represent the franchise in so many ways, and yeah, like you said, it's up there. I'm trying to think of other like specific positions that would be similar to
Like a
that. Maybe,
shortstop in baseball, but that isn't. I don't still think that's even close.
yeah, right. Because baseball's unique in where like you can't, at least defensively or offensively, like dictate, like usage, for example, which is like more of a basketball metric. But you can in football, design how which players are going to get more touches than others. Where in baseball, it's kind of just a crapshoot. You get one. You this guy gets as many at bats as the next guy. I mean, you can put them higher in the order, but
Right. I think a point guard in college basketball you could put up there.
mm-hmm.
Seems like teams on the NBA it's kind of different. Like the Nuggets obviously won with Jokic is their guy. Guard play is still important, but not as much. I feel like in college basketball, the teams that overwhelmingly win more than not is the ones that have just the best point guard, shooting guards, guys off the bench,
Mm-hmm.
quick dudes like that. But I still don't think I don't know. I guess my question is our quarterbacks worth the hype? You would probably argue in favor of that, but I know our good buddy Carver King would strongly oppose to that. So I guess I want to hear your opinion, and maybe next time I'll have to
Yeah,
Carver and get his.
I think there's different ways to win in the NFL. Like I think of Shanahan and McVay, who have both done it. I mean, McVay, the Super Bowl year was with Matt Stafford, who you could argue was, one of those elite or just under elite guys. Um, but Shanahan has won how many games with Jimmy Garoppolo and McVay with Goff, and Goff's not a bad quarterback, and neither is Garoppolo, but they're not like guys who should be taking up 20% of a team's salary cap. Like their value just doesn't match that. So I think Mahomes, like the top guys, they're probably worth the money, like Mahomes and now Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, guys you'd put in that tier, Lamar Jackson. But yeah, I think Carver's probably onto something when the position as a whole is definitely overvalued. When you look at contracts like that Nick Foles has gotten in recent years. Andy Dalton got like a $14 million deal with the Bears a couple years ago. There's always quarterbacks getting overpaid. So,
what's the one guy who like went off for the Packers and then went to Seattle? Matt Flynn.
Yeah, Matt Flynn. Yeah, and then just to get benched for Russell Wilson.
Right. I mean, that worked out well for them either way. But didn't he get paid like pretty like handsomely? And it was just like a one-game thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the same year too, right? Like the same year they like signed for him. I was like they drafted Wilson. He just like took over right away.
Yeah, I don't think he started a game. Jay Lice would know.
No, I think that's right. I think Wilson was like going nuts in preseason. Like, dude, we're just gonna roll with this guy. I don't think Flynn did start.
That's what I remember.
See, Russell Wilson's another quarterback who has like gone through different stages with me. Like he started at NC State, and I remember watching him when I was really young, and I kind of liked him. Then he went to Wisconsin. He's probably my favorite Wisconsin quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate him. I didn't like strongly hate him, but I didn't really like him. It was okay with me. And then I liked him right away for the Seahawks, and then now he's just is getting kind of worn out with me. He's gone the opposite way. He seems kind of corny now.
Yeah. I think you're, in the same boat as a lot of people in terms of Russell Wilson. We'll see what happens this year with Sean Payton. It should be interesting. But yeah, I feel I'm interested though to hear what you think about the quarterback position in the NFL and if you think it's worth the hype.
It definitely is. Obviously, like it is. It is definitely the most, like I said, it's probably the most important position like in any sport that I can think of off the top of my head without going to like obscure sports.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like kind of also the trend where like Patrick Mahomes got this big contract, deservingly so, and then now it's just like dudes who think they're him are getting. It can get. It's kind of like a market. Like I don't know how like the stock market totally works, but I feel like it's getting like a little inflated right now. Like you got Justin Herbert's like making an insane amount of money, and then I forget who else is like. There's some other quarterbacks who've been like kind of like arguing about their money. It's like, dude, you shouldn't be in a position to like.
Yeah,
Dak, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Yes. Yeah, like Dak's a good example. He hasn't done anything really to like deserve like top tier money. It's like he gets into the playoffs, but he chokes every year.
Mm-hmm.
So
on a loaded roster too. I mean, that's a pretty good roster. It has been for a while.
Oh yeah, it has been every year since he's been there. It's been like solid everywhere. So I think I'm trying to think how to say this right. I think it's definitely very valuable, but it's like a double-edged sword. You get a bunch of like dudes who are overhyped, who are lumped in with like the actual elite guys. Yeah. So then like when you see these dudes, it's kind of like it kind of turns me off. But then like you said, you talk about like an Aaron Rodgers, like that guy's like just been a great quarterback for a while.
Yeah.
So I think there's too much attention at times, but I think it's a very solid position, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's so few of those like really elite guys that like the value of like the middle tier guys skyrockets because there's also so few of them. So they can demand a lot of money because someone will pay, top dot, like a lot of money for them who, if a team can convince themselves that they're just an average quarterback away, like think of like the 2018 Bears where it's like your roster is loaded everywhere else except quarterback, and like just a average guy might, be the difference between a middling team and like a team that wins the division, So this is why like Jimmy Garoppolo is getting big contracts and Kirk Cousins. It's like there's still so few of these guys, and And it's so hard to hit on a quarterback in the draft and so hard to get one in free agency that, like, if you have, a Kirk Cousins or a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Daniel Jones, like, it's tough to let them walk, especially for nothing.
But that does make sense. Like when you do have like a guy that's like, okay, he's good enough. You do need it's important. The position is important enough where you need to like protect him and like you said, sign him.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get like, I don't know. I think Daniel Jones is good. I think Daniel Jones will be a good quarterback. Yeah. I think Kirk Cousins is a guy I wouldn't want though. I don't ever see that guy rising above. And then like Jimmy Garoppolo, I like him too. Like you don't have to have the best talent, but I feel like those mid-level guys, you got to have like kind of like an X factor a little bit. And then like Garoppolo is kind of like a game manager. Like I would take Jimmy Garoppolo as my starting quarterback gladly, and I would take Daniel Jones as my starting quarterback gladly. But I feel like Kirk Cousins like just shrinks in the moment, and I wouldn't like want him if he's a mid-tier guy like that. I feel like you still have to have some kind of like upside. I feel like Kirk Cousins doesn't have.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think out of the three, I would also take Kirk Cousins last. And yeah, Daniel Jones, he's got some X factor, like you said. There's some dimensions to his game that separates him a little bit. Like he's got some running ability and, some things he can utilize other than just, basic quarterback play, which make him valuable. And he's a player that's ascending, whereas like Kirk Cousins, it's like what you're going to get with Kirk. Like, yeah, he's definitely probably like a top 15 quarterback, but you're limited in what he brings to the table in a lot of ways.
Right, they've had more playoff success with Case Keenum.
Yeah,
and they let him go. Kirk Cousins hasn't done anything.
Yeah,
I like the Vikings.
Yeah, right. Would you say that they're your NFC team?
Probably, yeah. I'd probably say Vikings are like my NFC team, similar to like the Cubs, where it's like I'm an AL guy, I'm an AFC guy with the Colts, but then I have like a casual like other side of the league team. I'd probably say Vikings are number 2. Yeah, I can't really think of any other NFC teams really. Cowboys, I like the Cowboys. I'd probably say Cowboys are number 2.
Yeah, Vikings, you do like the Cowboys. You are a Cowboys. You're a Cowboys casual.
I'm just a Mike McCarthy guy, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a big fan club?
I am. I actually like Big Mike. I think he's a good coach. Yeah. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with the Packers. I think they're going to win the NFC East this year. I think they'll be better than the Eagles. I don't know. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl with the
That'd be
Cowboys.
Pretty cool. He'd be a legend.
He would be. I'm putting it out there right now. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl.
All right.
In the next 2 to 3 years.
All right. With Dak?
With Dak, yeah.
Wow, that'd be impressive.
I don't think he'll be the reason why, but
yeah.
They just need the problem with the Cowboys is they can't be a wild card. They need to be a division winner and like get that. They need to get they can't play in wild card weekend because the more games you give Dak Prescott, he's gonna screw it up. So if you get him right to divisional round, that's only 3 games: divisional, championship, Super Bowl. I think he can put together 3 games, solid games, just good enough at least.
Yeah.
Before is asking too much, maybe.
Yeah, now would be a good time too. Like the NFC, if they can win that division, that'd be huge. I mean, the Eagles, and like if you could get the Eagles and Niners to have to play each other before you get to them, I think that's their best bet. Like, because it'd be tough to get through both, the Eagles and the 49ers. But if you only had to play one of them, I think your chance, especially if they'll have an advantage against Philly having played them twice already.
It's true. I think I would rather play Philly. I think San Francisco's gonna win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
they're the best team. I think this is their year. This feels like the Rams year, where it all kind of like aligned for them. I think this is finally the year for San Francisco. They've kind of had some issues the last couple of years, obviously like injuries and all that. The timing just hasn't been right. I think it'll finally come along this year.
With Brock Purdy at quarterback?
That's a thing too. Like it could be any one of the 3. It probably will be what's his name? The young guy.
Trey Lance?
Trey Lance. It'll probably be Trey Lance. But even if it's what's his name who they signed? Who's the third guy they signed?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. We were talking about that the other day. I think Sam Darnold could have a resurgence.
He's in the right place to do it.
Right.
He was a dude who I always kind of considered amongst that kind of middle tier. I think a lot worked against him in New York and Carolina too. Like, I think there's a lot there left. I'm with you. I think he could definitely have a resurgence. I think there's a lot of upside with Sam Darnold.
There's just some places you don't want to go as a quarterback. I wouldn't want to go to the Jets. We talked about Chad Pennington earlier. That's like the most notable quarterback of like our time that was a Jet.
Oh yeah,
Mark Sanchez had success, but he wasn't good.
Right, by like a significant margin. I'm like trying to think who else has even been there. Fitzpatrick, at least once.
Yeah.
Geno Smith for a little bit, and that was just abysmal.
Right. And then like even before a time, like the last quarterback you have to go back to, like Joe Namath.
Literally, yeah. They had like Vinny Testaverde.
Okay, I think Vinny Testaverde was solid.
Yeah, he was like their best, which isn't probably saying a whole lot. Like you said, that just proves our point further.
We'll give Vinny Testaverde credit. That's a great name. That's a great New York name too.
It is, yeah, right. It is.
I'll have to look up. I look up the stats. I think Vinny Testaverde stands the test, but the rest of the quarterbacks have not been good. So that'd be a tough place to go. It's like even talk about like Zach Wilson. That's a tough place to go right away, especially the New York media for quarterback. It's be tough, especially the Jets too. Like Jets fans are way more aggressive too than like it seems like the Giants are kind of more of like Mets fans. It's not as like they don't get as much slack. They're kind of like the little brother. So that'd be a tough place to play. And then Carolina, where he was at too. Then Sam Darnold was there with Matt Rule, who sucked.
Matt Rule. So it was just a dysfunctional team all around. Like they were a lot better after they kind of sold the farm and fired Matt Rule. Like the second half of the year was a lot better for Carolina than the first.
Yeah, I know. And Matt Rule can bring us a Big Ten football because Matt Rule is now at Nebraska, and I think he's going to suck there too.
That'd be great.
I think Nebraska is like in the stage of just like hiring like I don't know, there's like hype around them, but they're just kind of like clowns. Like Scott Frost was a clown.
Yeah.
The Oregon State guy was not good. Mike Riley, he was a clown. I think Matt Rule's gonna be a clown too. There's a lot of hype around him, and he was good at Baylor, I guess, but he was awful in the NFL, and he just doesn't strike me as like a very, I don't know. He reminds me of a poor man's Brett Bielema.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You know, I'm not too worried as an Iowa fan about Matt Rule coming to Nebraska, but we'll see. I guess I was hoping they'd just like hang on to Scott Frost for like a couple more years. Yeah.
It's like, come on, like it's terrible. Scott Frost, you can't fire him,
right? You know what I mean? What's he doing now? Does he have a job somewhere?
I'm gonna look it up. That's a good one to look up.
That's always interesting, like to see where these, you know,
I can't remember if he got hired right away or not.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, I thought of that because when we were talking about Nebraska head coaches, I thought of Bo Pelini.
Oh, and
last I heard, he was at like Florida Atlantic coaching defense. It's just funny, to go from the head coach of, you know, one of the perennial programs in college football to, you know, Florida Atlantic.
He was a head coach at Youngstown State for a while too, and I think he got fired. No, I forget if he got fired there or if he left. He though has kind of like. He's another guy. Like as the years have gone by, I've started to like Bo Pelini more. I kind of respected him more. So I think they were at least good. I didn't like him at the time, but I at least respected the fact that they were like they could beat us. They were better than us some years, but the last couple of years they were still like the last couple of years you still got like, all that Nebraska hype and they were just awful. So at least when Bo Pelini was there, like I respected them a little bit because they're at least good. And like now looking back, like you wish you would have kept a guy like Bo Pelini if you're Nebraska.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the knock on him was they always finished like 8-4. Like they were always right, like in that middle zone where you're like making the Capital One Bowl every year. But yeah, they kicked Iowa's butt. I think they won like the first 5 years we played.
Probably. And I think he had him I mean, when the Big Ten first got like the championship game, when that first was a thing, like they were in there like at least once or twice, maybe.
One I remember for sure when Kenny Bell played and Taylor Martinez.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking at Bo Pelini.
Yeah.
Because he like 10 win like season sprinkled in there. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
They definitely made one title game. I remember.
His worst, he never had lower than 9 wins.
Yeah, there you go.
And he was
so
there
9-3. That must have been. That was it.
He was there for 7 years, and he had 6 9-win seasons, and he had 3 10-win seasons. And then they fired him his last year. He was 9-3, and they didn't let him coach a bowl game. They said 9-3 is not good enough. 9 wins and 10 wins aren't good enough. And then now they came and win. They can get a bowl games now.
Yeah, it's been brutal.
So I respect a guy like Bo Pelini, even if he is coaching at Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah,
I respect him. Scott Frost doesn't have a job. I feel like he needs to kind of take a year off and just let it cool.
Probably.
I mean, he's getting paid a shitload. So why would you not just take a year off, regroup, let your name kind of simmer down? Mm-hmm. Hopefully, like a year or two goes by, your name's not like synonymous with Nebraska as much anymore. Maybe the focus goes to Matt Rule. Then you sloop in somewhere, get a decent job.
Yeah. I feel like as time goes on with things like this, you'll increase your hype once you do decide to get back into it. It's like, oh yeah, you remember him from UCF? They won 13 games and beat Auburn. They were like the only undefeated team that year. We got Scott Frost.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let enough years go by. Like, let your name, like everything, your image marinate a little bit, and then like eventually enough time will go around. I feel like you can spring back up, especially with like guys like that, people in the media. Like, if you just lay low for a little bit, you can always jaunt back up. Who's to say Pat Fitzgerald, takes 5 years off? Maybe he comes back someday.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think he's done.
Yeah, not looking good for Scott or Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah. So who's coaching at Northwestern now?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, they lucked out that like Pat Fitzgerald was a good enough coach for him, because I don't know who you're gonna hire. Like if you're not going within the program route, I don't know it's gonna be hard to attract a guy there to Northwestern, I feel like. But I don't know.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I wonder if it'll be another alum, like Fitzgerald was, but I don't know who that would be.
I don't know enough about the Northwestern coaching tree to know. But I think they're in deep. I think they're in deep stuff. That was their best bet with Pat Fitzgerald as your coach. Maybe you have 3 season rule where you're really good, and then you have to kind of go through a cycle where you're down for a year or two. But he sprinkles in success. Obviously, he was never going to get fired based on before all this. He would never got fired. He could probably retired just based on his performance. He did good enough, especially at Northwestern.
Right. It's that's a program that is probably going to go back down in the dumps, because before Fitzgerald, it was
awful.
Yeah, really bad.
Especially the Big Ten's getting better. Yeah, all these new teams in. This is awful timing for Northwestern. The situation at Northwestern is not funny, but in terms of Big Ten teams who I dislike, it is funny to see their demise. So I think they're gonna be really bad.
Yeah, they've always been a team that has given Iowa trouble.
Yeah, I know. That's why I hate them so much. Is it's hard to hate Northwestern. They're not very good. They're kind of more academic than that. But they beat us when they shouldn't, and they're a pesky team. So I've always disliked them out of jealousy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the same way, and I've got a vendetta ever since what year was it? The Orange Bowl year? Was that 2008? Am I remembering that right?
2009.
2009, where when Stanzi got hurt and they beat us.
Yeah. That was really the start of it right there, was that.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to the national championship game. Probably.
Yeah.
you still had to play the game against Ohio State, and like obviously we know Vandenberg came in and played
And they
well.
almost won that game, yeah, with him playing quarterback.
Rick Stanzi wins that game, I think.
Oh yeah,
That's
Yeah.
tough.
yeah.
That's
Still
what we need
big.
to talk about the present, because I think the Hawks are going to win the Big Ten West this year.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about wide open divisions. That's one of them.
And obviously, like every year, people always want to like hype up Wisconsin. And like from what I've seen, a lot of people like they're the favorite. Like in terms of like everything I've looked at, Wisconsin's the favorite to win the West, but I don't think they should be at all. And I've been very critical of Iowa football the last couple of years. But this year I have a lot of hype for them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if the offense sucks again this year, that's gonna really piss off a lot of people, myself included. It's honestly almost just kind of ridiculous that they're, still going with Brian Ferentz after the last 2 years. In all honesty, it's like really hard to believe that would happen anywhere else, honestly. But
there's very few places else that can happen at.
yeah.
But I'm giving him one last chance. I think what's his name? Petrus was just so bad. I'm not gonna trash him because I like him a lot, but I just don't think he was very good at all. I think the offense isn't really the problem. I think with a very serviceable quarterback, I think McNamara is a good quarterback.
I mean, he's the best we've had. I mean, Beathard, that range, I think.
He's better than Nate Stanley. He's in the he'll be in the Beathard range. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think I mean, I think personnel wise, the offense was in a bad spot the last couple of years. I'll give Brian some leeway on that. The quarterback position especially, and receiver wasn't great, and neither was the line was as bad as it's been since I started watching Iowa football. But also the offensive play calling was pretty bad too. So I don't know if that's because of the personnel, or what, but we'll see. Because the personnel looks a lot better this year. The roster looks like it's in a lot better spot.
Well, what's your theory? Everyone has like their own their own theory, kind of with Brian Ferentz. He's like kind of an enigma. I can't really like figure him out. And you would know because obviously you play quarterback and you coached. You know how to like diagram plays and so like what do you think? What do you think it is?
I think to have like a fully formed diagnosis, I'd have to watch a lot more film. But from what from my recollection and what I have seen, the personnel wasn't great, but what really struck me, and I mentioned this earlier, was like the play calling, and just like the offensive architecture was really simple and basic, and archaic in a lot of ways. Like it seemed to me, especially in the pass game, that this, whoever was designing the offense, Brian Ferentz, really didn't have a great grasp of, modern passing game. It was just like a lot of very simple concepts that have gone out of phase in most of college football and NFL as well. And really predictable play calling too, like outside zone. Oh shit, it's 3rd and 9. We're gonna call this, high-low read. So that's my thoughts on it.
So do you think it's like it sounds like it's probably like 50-50 then. It was probably like 50-50 Brian didn't really know what he was doing. And then like half the time too, he had a very like limited quarterback where he had to like really like fine tune the plays he was calling for this guy who can't really throw it.
Yeah, that's good. Sure, right. It's tough to know, like if you're not in the building. So I'd be interested to hear, the opinions of some people on the inside who have been in those meetings and stuff. If the play calling was, due to limitations of the players or things like that. Because, I think the offense looked a little bit better in the Stanley era when Brian was calling plays. I mean, it still wasn't great. It wasn't ideal, but it was a little bit better.
See, I think the play calling has always been not great, and Nate Stanley was just a better quarterback. I mean, there were still games where we would have like 100 yards, something of total offense. We put up like 3 points and like still be in it because Josh Jackson had 2 pick sixes.
Right. No, you're right. I think I want to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt just because, it's speculation. I'm just a guy who watches from the couch. But
I'm an expert. We know what we're talking about.
Right. But that's what it looks like to me. It's I don't have confidence in the play calling.
Yeah, I don't either. But I do have a lot of faith for some reason. The personnel is the best it's been. So it really is up to him to figure the plays out. I don't really have any qualms about the quarterback or the personnel. The receiving core is still not great, but Iowa's always never had great receiving cores, and we've still found success. And I think the tight ends are really good. I forget the second and third string guys, but I think we can play 3 guys at any given time.
Yeah.
Tight ends sometimes this year. So it's deep there. Like you said, the offensive line has been awful. By Iowa standard, it's been awful the last couple of years. But I think some of these younger guys this is a more veteran crew now. Like they've had a rough couple of years, but they were kind of thrown to the fire. I think this year they'll really take as a unit. Like they're not going to get worse; they're going to get better this year. Is what I think.
Yeah, so. I'm with you. Yeah, I think what gives me hope and reason to be optimistic is the fact that Cade McNamara decided to go to Iowa, because he's a guy that definitely would have, other options that might look more intriguing for a quarterback. I think the fact that he decided to come to Iowa, makes me think that there's something we don't necessarily know or aren't privy to.
Right. I agree. I mean, Caden McNamara is a big enough name. I mean, you're starting quarterback at Michigan. You can go to maybe not like some of the top tier SEC teams, but you can go to like pretty much every mid level. When you go to South Carolina, if you're Cade McNamara, so you can go. You have options. Like you said, he chose to go to Iowa. So
yeah, you could definitely go to a place that on the surface might seem like a more favorable spot for a quarterback. Playing in a offense that is more wide open, where you're gonna be more centralized than the pro system Iowa runs. So I'm optimistic they're gonna open things up a little bit. And he seems like a pretty intelligent guy. So
right, and I feel like he'll be able to audible more. He just has more command of just how to not only run the offense, but just everything else that comes with the quarterback. You got to be especially college, at a campus like Iowa. You got to be the man. You got to be the quarterback. You got to be the dude. CJ Beathard was the dude. Ricky Stanzi was the dude. Drew Tate was the dude. Nate Stanley, I don't know if he was the dude. And Freddie Pierce wasn't the dude. I think Caden McNamara fits the Iowa quarterback right too.
I do too. He seems like a good leader.
Right.
And he's like you said, he's been there. He's won in the Big Ten.
He's one of the Big Ten. That's tough to do.
Mm.
And I like Jim Harbaugh, but I am all in favor of guys leaving Michigan and going to Iowa and sticking to them.
Me too.
Even though it didn't work out with Oliver Martin, that was cool. It was still a cool move. It's I'm leaving Michigan. I'm coming to Iowa. He ended up sucking, but it was cool when it happened.
Yeah, it was cool when it happened.
I think this time the Michigan-Iowa connection will write itself the right way this time.
Yeah, we're due.
We are due. I'm gonna pull the schedule.
Yeah.
I was looking at it the other day, and there's
we start with Utah State, right?
Yes. I did see we were one of a handful of teams, FBS teams, that do not have an FCS team on the schedule. There's only I think Carver sent us that. Michigan or Minnesota was one of them. That's why he sent it in.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Utah State, then the Cyclones.
Yeah.
Because what's the outlook on the Cyclones this year? I mean, they're quarterback, so
I think they're supposed to be kind of shitty, is what I've heard.
I mean, they were bad last year.
They were, and I mean, they had like NFL guys on the roster. This year, I feel like they're a lot younger. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they've kind of hit their peak.
Yeah, it seems like it. They're really fizzling out. Last year, it was really disappointing.
Yeah. So we start with Utah State. I don't know anything about Utah State, but I feel like that's a win. Now we go to Iowa State. On the road is always tougher. I feel like obviously it's more of a challenge, even though Jack Trice isn't all that it's cracked out to be. It's still a tough environment. So that'll be McNamara's first real test.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really worried, I think.
Right. And like you said, I think the experience will be key there. Like, he's played a Big Ten schedule. Whoever's starting for Iowa State is going to be – that'll be –
It's Hunter Decker, who is –
Is he going to play?
Oh, that's right. We got to pull that up, too. What is going on with that? I don't even know who was all, like, implicated in that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. The only one I'm really privy to is Hunter Decker's.
Let's see if I can pull it up. I thought he was starting.
I think, yeah. So he's not getting suspended or anything?
I don't even know. There's a video going around with them. That was funny.
that was
He
wild.
like admitted that he did it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. Iowa State Daily. I'm pulling up the article here. All right. See if this works. Can you read that?
Yeah, I can.
Sweet. Iowa State starting running back Jareel Brock, blah, blah, blah. Who's all in there? So the running back's in it? Is that what it says? Yeah. Iowa State starting running back Jareel Brock headlines the most recent flock of Iowa State football players who were charged Thursday with tampering with records. So they tamper, so that means just that they try to like cover it up.
Must be something like that.
So this comes after a week. This article is 3 days ago. So like a week ago, they caught like 3 dudes. One of them was Deckers.
Mm-hmm.
Dodge Saucer. I don't know who that is. Dodge Saucer. Brock. The running back, defensive lineman Isaiah Lee, tight end Deshaun Hanukkah, offensive lineman, picked up for the same criminal charge. So maybe they can't start. They can't practice right now is what it looks like. Yeah, they're really in big trouble. There's some Iowa guys in it too, but nobody like super noticeable, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Like the one guy was in it, but he left, like that receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't think of anybody like significant.
So I think that's an easy win. I think we're looking at 2-0. Then you got Western Michigan.
Should be a win. How have they
home,
been? Are they any good anymore? Ever
I
since
don't know.
PJ Fleck?
They were kind of good for a while, right?
Yeah, they were good when PJ Fleck was there. They went to a BCS Bowl, didn't they? Corey Davis played for them.
That's right. Western Michigan. Yeah, they did.
I can't remember what bowl or who they played.
Kind of recently.
Yeah, it was. That's where PJ Fleck was right before
That's
Minnesota.
right. Yes. PJ Fleck was there. I think they're still pretty solid. They're in the MAC, right? I think they're pretty decent. I don't know. But, I mean, either way, that's a win. This is the only one. Go ahead.
Are they is that the team Iowa lost to in like 2006 to like lose bowl eligibility in the last
Yeah,
week
I
of
know
the
what game you're
season?
talking about. That would that would have been the first year I watched. I can really remember watching like every Iowa football game, and like this shows like how different the times are back then. Back then, we only played. I forget what the rules were. There was like you had to play if you want to go to a bowl game. If you had 6 wins, you could so bowl eligibility 6 wins. You go 6-6, you go to a bowl game. But 2 of our wins were against FCS teams.
Mm-hmm.
We played like 2 FCS teams on our 12-game schedule for some reason. Played like UNI and then like some other crap like FCS school.
Mm-hmm.
So then we also played like Western Michigan at the end of the year. I don't understand the schedule.
Yeah, the last game that was super weird.
College football was just way different back then. We ended a regular season with Western Michigan, which is unheard of now. Like no one ends the regular season with a non-conference game. And yeah, so we already had 6 wins, but we need to get to 7 wins to go to a bowl game because 2 of our 6 wins were against FCS teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lucked out in playing Western Michigan at the end of the year to get to a bowl game, and we blew it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Jake
brutal.
Christensen, I think, was a quarterback that
Yes.
year.
Yes, that was Jake Christensen.
So I hopefully this year doesn't turn out like that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
But then the fourth game. So now we're 3-0. Say we win all 3 of those. This one is like the only definitive game where I think we'll be expected to lose. Wisconsin might be favorites. Looking ahead, we play them on the road. Wisconsin might be favorites, but other than that, I think we're going to be favored just about every conference game. But we go on the road against Penn State. That's the first conference game of the year. That'll be tough. But I think they could win the East.
Really?
I think Penn State could win the East. They have a young quarterback. I forget his name. They have like a big top recruit coming in. The quarterback. I think he's the real deal. Obviously, they're not picked to be the favorites. But I think Michigan will probably go. But I would pick maybe Penn State second. I think Ohio State can kind of go down to third this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Ohio State, I mean, the quarterback play, right? They haven't named a starter yet, have they?
I don't think so. And honestly, I don't know enough about like their depth chart or anything. I think it's all young guys.
Yeah.
Let's pull it up. I'm pull that up next. Ohio State depth chart. I think it's 2 young dudes. I don't think didn't they lose? I don't know. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, it's 2 dudes. I know I was watching Big Ten Network the other day. One of them wears 33 for Sammy Baugh.
What?
Yeah, because Sammy Baugh was like the first quarterback inducted into the Hall of Fame or something.
Okay.
And he just dug it, I guess. So he wears 33. So
I have it pulled up right here. Devin Brown. Number 33. He's a redshirt freshman. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up his picture. That's his comedy. I don't know. I could maybe get behind this. I'd have to see what kind of guy this guy is. If he's like cool and he pulls it off, I'm all for that. Like Devin Gardner wore 98.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is kind of sick. I can kind of get behind it.
That was cool. I'm trying to think of quarterbacks like wearing non-quarterback numbers recently, and Devin Gardner comes to mind, and Shea Patterson when he was at Ole Miss wore 20.
Oh, did he really? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he wore 20. Other than that, I can't think of anybody.
Because I don't think they're even allowed to. Like, I think they had to make a special rule just for Devin Gardner. To Tom Harmon, I think he was like a quarterback like way back in the day. But I think they just changed the rules. Like, who cares? You know, whatever.
In the NFL.
Because it's open up to everybody. Here, I'm pulling up the picture of Devin Brown. Here he is right here. Devin Brown, number 33.
Let's go.
He's a redshirt freshman. It says sophomore, but he's a redshirt freshman from Arizona. Hey, I don't know. I could kind of dig him.
Yeah. He's good. That'd be cool.
But I think they're going to slide down.
Yeah. You think? they're just so loaded everywhere else.
I know. They still have Marvin Harrison, right?
Yep. And
Okay.
I mean that room is just loaded.
That's true.
They just reload at receiver. But I
Even
think
with a young
him and
quarterback, it's kind of hard to mess that up.
right. Yeah, Emeka Egbuka, is that their number 2? He's a stud. He's like
I think that's
probably
there's Kyle McCord. He must be a transfer.
never heard of him.
Who'd you say?
Emeka Egbuka?
Oh, you're talking receivers. Yeah, Emeka Egbuka. I was talking about the other quarterback. There's a quarterback like who's listed as a starter right now named Kyle McCord.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know if he transferred or not.
I'm pulling him up. Kyle McCord.
I think he played last year a little bit.
He looks like he sucks. I think Ohio State's going to finish third.
That'd be wild.
What I'm trying to say is Penn State is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a tough road game. I think it's a toss-up. But I think he could go either way.
Yeah, it'll be tough playing that one on the road. If that was in Kinnick, that changes things significantly.
But we have success. Sometimes it seems like we play a little better out there. I don't know. We've had up and down games.
Yeah, that's true.
The one year we got shellacked out there with Nate Stanley, and then the other year, I think we played out there too, maybe. And it was like really close. And then we threw a pick at the goal line.
Yep, that was brutal.
Yeah.
We had that year where Adrian Claiborne blocked the punt.
That's what I was thinking of.
Have we won recently over there though? That might be the last time we've been there.
That I say that we've actually, I think we have a bad track record out there. I don't think I'm dead wrong on that. I think that is the last time we won out there. Maybe like a random year, like 2014, something like that. But
yeah,
that'll be a tough one. I would say we'll give us a loss. We play Michigan State at home. I think that's a win.
Yeah, it should be. That's a team that we've kind of had their number too.
Yeah, we have a good record with them, and they've kind of been down.
Mm-hmm.
Then we play Purdue at home, and we already mentioned him once on the podcast. Aiden O'Connell, he gets mentioned twice. He's gone, so I think they're going to be kind of down this year. They're kind of like the new Northwestern, where it's like if the right year aligns, they'll be good. If they're kind of back in rebuild mode.
Yeah, should be a win.
I think that's a win. And then Wisconsin's on the road. I don't know. That's a second really question mark. Because obviously, like, they have our number. But I think it's gonna take a while for them to adjust to the spread offense and the new coach.
Also, speaking of, going back to McNamara, I think having like a confident and competent quarterback helps on the road. Like, like last year, like playing against Wisconsin and just getting hammered, like, we had no chance because we couldn't move the ball at all. So, like, you just never generate momentum. If you can, like, move the ball, complete some passes, like there was points last year, especially in that game, where it's like we couldn't even complete, like, the most simple route combinations. Like, the most basic throws were, like, just we couldn't do it. It's like, of course you're going to lose.
Right. And I was, like, always been kind of like Patriots-esque, where it's like, even if you're like not scoring a lot of points, you're taking a lot of time up with long possessions. Maybe you fizzle out at the red zone, but you get a field goal and you took up like an 8, 9, 10 minute chunk of the quarter. You kind of win momentum of the quarter that way. This last couple of years, it's like 3 and out.
Right.
Nothing. You can't get anything going.
Yeah. I feel so bad for Phil Parker.
Right. Like that guy. Like he might be he might be like the most important, like Norm Parker, it was Norm Parker, right? Norm Parker was like a legend before him. Mm-hmm. I think Phil Parker may have like even like exceeded what Norm Parker did.
I think so. I mean, just the last few years, it's been incredible. Like Iowa's had like a top 5 defense,
Yeah.
literally, and it's like it's nuts. And they've been like in position to win the Big Ten East, or excuse me, the Big Ten West, both of the last 2 years with literally one of the worst offenses in the entire country.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're putting up like Conference USA Sunbelt numbers offense wise, and we're winning like 8 games in the Big Ten, in a position to maybe represent the division in the in the conference title game.
Yeah, seriously, he
So
is.
that's where my optimism for this season comes in. Is like you said, we have a smart quarterback who is talented, like enough.
Yeah. Yep. I think
So I feel like a year like I feel like this year is a season where we get Wisconsin on the road. I feel like we're gonna win.
We should. We definitely should.
What about Minnesota at home? That's what we play next.
Yeah, you gotta have that one.
I think that's a win too.
How are they? So Tanner Morgan's gone.
Yeah,
They had
remember
a few games last year.
Yeah, we played last year when we played them. It was the guy who was starting this year. His last name was like Kaliki Manis.
Yeah.
So he's starting. Carver thinks he's gonna be good, but I don't know. I think they could sneak. I think they could sneak a second place finish this year, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. And they lose Mo Ibrahim, right? He's gone.
That's right. They lose him.
And that dude was a stud.
I think they're gonna be kind of down this year. I think they lost a lot of like seniors too.
Yeah.
I think got to win. We already talked about the next team. Now we're in November. Like the only team where it's like it's iffy is Wisconsin, and Penn State are really the only two like iffy ones. They play Northwestern in November, the first game of November, in Wrigley Field.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's a win too.
Yeah, we should definitely win that.
And then Rutgers.
Should win that.
Illinois Senior Day.
I'm glad that one's at home.
Right. If it was on the road, that could screw the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But at home, the game still kind of scares me a little bit. Illinois does.
Definitely. They're trending in the right direction. I mean, they lose a lot. They lost a lot, right? They lost both the Brown brothers. They lost their starting quarterback.
Yeah. I think we're going to beat them. And then Nebraska.
We better have that.
That's what I'm saying.
So, okay. Who was the kid that played quarterback last year when we played them?
Nebraska?
Yeah, what was that kid's name?
Was it a young guy or did
I thought it was a young guy.
That's a good question. I'm gonna look it up.
Seems like we played so many like ever since Adrian Martinez. Is that his name? Who went to K-State?
Yeah, he was there last year, right?
He was at K-State last year, so he was.
Yeah.
It was someone else from Nebraska. I can't remember who, but I think they played like multiple kids. There was a McCaffrey there, right?
Yeah.
For a while. Or is he still there?
Yeah, I think he was. I got it pulled up. No, it was Casey Thompson.
Gotcha. So is he going
Right?
to start this year? That sounds
Casey
right.
Thompson.
That sounds familiar.
Then they played a kid named Chubba Purdy.
Is that Brock Purdy's brother?
Brother. Yeah, I think so.
I remember hearing that. Okay, on their depth chart right now, according to this depth chart I'm looking at, that Casey Thompson guy is not even on the team.
He maybe got booted. He was there last year. Oh, I think he graduated maybe.
Oh, maybe. Jeff Sims is listed as their starter right now.
Who's that?
No clue. Junior.
Oh, is it Phil Sims' son?
No, he's from Georgia Tech.
What?
Yeah, transferred from Georgia Tech.
They're gonna be awful.
Yeah.
They had Georgia Tech's quarterback.
Yep.
Jeff Sims, yeah. And then their backup is German guy, Heinrich Harburg.
All right.
Yeah, they're gonna be awful.
Yeah.
They might
Sweet.
be just as bad as Nebraska or Northwestern.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah, this would be a good year to win the West.
I think it is. We can end with our bold predictions. I think Iowa wins the Big Ten West. And I think it will be a rematch. I think we'll lose to Penn State in the regular season. And I think we'll face them again in the Big Ten title game. And I don't know, it's too far out in the distance to say if we'll win or not. But I think that's a little to be the matchup.
I like that. All right. I feel good about the Hawks winning too after we went through the schedule. Hawks take the West. You know, I'm not ready to dethrone Michigan yet though.
Yeah, I know. Michigan will be good.
But there's gonna be some good games. The East will be good. That'll be fun. It's been fun the last few years. It's been competitive at the top at least.
Do you think the conference, like how 12 as a whole, will be better when the realignment happens for all these new teams?
Yeah, I mean there will be more competitive games, I think, and more teams. Like right now, it feels the league feels really top heavy with Michigan and Ohio State, and Penn State even kind of recently has felt like a tier below. It just those two. So hopefully it evens it out a little bit.
So you think it's a good thing? I don't know. I'm trying to come around to it, but
I don't know.
Tough.
I don't know. I think part of me doesn't like it. Like growing up watching the Big Ten as we know it, it's tough. Like even having like when Maryland and Rutgers joined, that was kind of like, oh,
Right.
But we'll see. I'm not completely closed off to it. I'm not going to be a curmudgeon about it until I see it happen.
It's probably going to get better, right?
You'd think there'll be some fun matchups like Lincoln Riley versus Harbaugh or Day every year or every other year or whatever it ends up being. Like that'll be pretty cool.
Right, and it's a 12-team playoff. So, and now you're down to like what? You have the Big Ten, you have the SEC, you have the ACC, and so you only got like 3 or 4 leagues. So it's like really like a top like 3 or 4. All you gotta do is like be in like a top 3 in your conference. And then any given year, like a UCLA could do that, and Iowa could do it, Wisconsin could.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. I think it'll be fun.
Definitely.
I hate it right away. I hated the idea, but I'm starting to come around to it. I think it'll be okay. But.
Yeah, I wonder what will happen to like these schools that are that might get buried, like Northwestern.
Yeah.
Because that'll be tough. Because like when you have the smaller leagues, like you can have those. It's easier to hang around the middle, and you can have those years where you get, it's a down year in the league and you can do well, but it's going to be really hard, I think, when you have USC, UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. There won't be any year where they're all down. There's always going to be some dominant teams.
Right. I think it just seems like it's going more of like that soccer style where it's like teams. Some teams kind of like drop below to a tier. I don't really know how it all works, but like they have like the big league, whatever it is in Europe, and then like depending on some years like bounce down to the tier below, teams kind of go up.
Yeah.
Like Northwestern, it feels like maybe like Maryland, they might have to like leave the Big Ten.
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
Below.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like when Rutgers.
Yeah, like Northwestern might like Rutgers could go like to the ACC and be good, but I feel like Northwestern might like I forget how it all works too with like the format for the 12 teams. But isn't there like the highest ranked like group of non-power or whatever? So say like Northwestern goes down like the MAC and like absolutely like tears it up down there.
Yeah,
We could maybe like making that work.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I wonder what league it would be. Like, would it be the MAC or would it be the only other option? It'd have to be like the Big 12, right?
We could even go like AAC, something like that.
The AAC, that would be, yeah, that'd be intriguing. I don't know. It would feel so weird because I don't know. Where were they? What league were they in before the Big Ten? Because they joined in like the '90s, right?
Who?
Northwestern.
Northwestern? Oh, I don't know. I think they were independent. I don't think they ever went to conference.
You know,
Yeah,
they could do that also. Get away with going independent.
they could. They'd go to the Notre Dame route. That's not a bad idea. That's what I think. That's what I'm thinking about. Is like teams could kind of like shop around. They go like different conferences. I think it could be okay. I don't know. It'll be different, but see, there could be like free agency between like colleges.
Yeah, college football has changed a lot.
Yeah, and like just like in like the last couple years, it's like completely changed.
Yeah, a lot of it for the good. I think the NIL and transfer portal stuff is like long overdue.
Oh yeah, that's like long overdue. That's like instant replay. And I have an instant replay in baseball. It was just like when they finally got it, I was like, how did you not? How's this not been a thing?
Right. Yeah.
And that was like even still like a couple years ago now. It's just college football has changed a lot. And I mean Colorado's like relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm talking myself into kind of like liking it.
Yeah, I know you've been down on it a bit.
Just because it's like the same teams, like the format is so outdated. Like where it's just two. I mean, for so long it was just two teams who they're ranked 1 and 2, and then they play each other, and then the other 100 or whatever. I mean, not every team goes to bowl game, but then like the other like 65 teams that go to bowl game, they just play in bowl games, and it doesn't really. It's just a weird system. Like that was like a thing they did in the 1930s. Teams went to bowl games. And then the newspapers wrote it up, and then they got together, and then you had like 4 different champions, and you like argued about it. And then they finally it's like, okay, well now we'll go to 4 teams. It's like you went from 2 to 4. It's like still the same thing, really. It's just like arbitrary process about like who the top 4 is. So finally, you get like a playoff. Like it plays out. Like that's how it always should be.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's every other division of football is like that.
Every other sport is like that. Name another sport where that was a system. You just kind of like pick 2 teams and they faced each other. That was like a 1940s way of doing things.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know. I think it'll be good.
Definitely.
Do you have any final thoughts? I appreciate you joining me tonight, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Or having me come on. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you and talk ball.
Right. Well, we'll have to do this again. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to plug?
Not really. I'm not plugging many things these days. Now that I missed the NIL era, so I didn't get any deals. Right.
Real quick, do you think you would have been? Say you were there for NIL. Do you think you would have been like the top guy on campus?
Not a chance.
Who else would have rivaled you your senior year?
I bet you Colin would have got some.
Oh, that's right. Colin was always a poster boy.
I bet there would have been wrestlers.
Oh, for sure.
And then like just dudes who had been there, like Fisher probably. I don't know though. Our senior year was interesting because like all like the returning guys were probably dudes that like I think of like Vetter who, everybody who knew the team knew Nick Vetter, but like
Vetter would probably be sponsored by Joe's.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, dude. Did guys on the team like get many deals or anything like that, like locally? I haven't heard of anything.
I think like the tiniest of stuff. There's like a new like nutrition place, smoothie place.
Yeah.
I think I might have seen some like track people like plugging that.
Mm-hmm.
But like Joe never did anything. I don't know. If I was like the owner of Joe's, I would like, I don't know. I don't really know much about like marketing at that small of like a level. I feel like you could like I don't know, like profit off that or something. Like I don't know, do something cool.
Yeah, and if nothing else, just because it'd be like fun, like
That's what I'm
cool
saying, right?
for dudes in there. But
Like he does these goofy videos for like promotion. Like he should have like a spokesperson and like he should have like a guy be like, everyone on campus get here tonight. Blah blah blah. I'm the starting quarterback. Whatever. I'm Noah Dodd. Come to Joe's tonight, and like the whole campus would come.
that would be a much more advantageous business move for Joe, I think.
Right.
Doing what he's doing right now.
And I think that's getting I think it's in new hands this year.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think Joe's is in new or no, actually I haven't checked it. That was like the big rumor, like at the end of last year was like it was closing down, someone bought it. But I don't know. I guess I have to check and see if I have some Waverly sources still. Maybe they're back, but that's what I heard. The last I heard, like someone else bought it.
Wow.
But that's always been the rumor. Like, there's always rumors like that going on.
That's been the rumor since I started there, I think. Like, people were talking about that as long as I've been there.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably. I think like the Joe's retiring rumor started like 10 years ago. I think he just prolongs it every year.
Yeah.
And then like I was convinced of this last year. I'm like, oh, every year I'm like, I took the rumor. But I was like actually convinced, like, this is actually the year.
Mhm.
But I think he like wanted everyone to think that, and I think he's still plugging along for another year.
That's funny. I won't believe it until I see it.
Yes, same. I'll have to get back on that. And we'll get the scoop on that. I guess it's August 13th. School will be in session like a week or two, so we'll check back on that. But
Yeah.
thanks for joining me tonight, buddy. It's good seeing you.
You bet.
And I'll be back on again.
Sounds good.
Stay safe, buddy.
Yeah,
Love
you
ya.
too. Yep, love you. Take care.
Yeah.